Welcome to episode 4 of the Real B2B Brand Stories podcast. I'm Anne Rimmer, founder and chief brand strategist at Propelled. We specialise in brand positioning for B2B companies, and this series features B2B companies doing things differently. I'm delighted to welcome James Bracewell, Director of Partner Success at GA Pet Foods. Founded from a working farm in Lancashire by James's father, Roger, GA has grown into an international manufacturer of premium dry pet food with a turnover of £150 million, employing 600 colleagues who are delivering and making 50,000 tonnes of kibble to 50 countries worldwide from their base in Lancashire. GA is an exceptional business dedicated to helping their customers, who they refer to as partners, differentiate and grow their businesses with their own brand pet food. James shares the many ways they educate and support their 3,000 partners globally, why they choose to do things differently than their competitors, the impact of private equity on the pet sector, and the key to success being people and long-term value-led partnerships. I recommend also watching on YouTube as James shares some of the beautiful printed documents that they've created in order to educate partners and colleagues alike. This is a packed episode, so do gift yourself a quiet space and enjoy. Good morning, James. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Anne. Thank you very much indeed for having me.
It's good to have you. First question for you. Tell us a little bit about your role and GA's place in the pet sector and the size of the business for those listening who don't know GA.
So GA Pet Food, we're a family business located in Lancashire, between Preston and Southport. Have been historically we were farmers, and we've been manufacturing pet food since 1992. Really, it started as a farm diversification project. We only make dry pet food, so primarily for dogs and cats. We sell it as a white label product, so we don't have our own brand. We manufacture for other brands. My role in the business is as partner success director. So it's really, I suppose, an extension of being sales director, and incorporating the service teams towards sales, as well as obviously the sales colleagues.
Perfect. And when we talk about customers, I know GA's terminology is partners, isn't it? So that's
Yes,
what we
sorry,
mean
yeah.
when we say partners, we're talking about customers. So,
Yeah.
and customers or partners are these days small independent pet shops in the main, aren't they? And some online retailers as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So partners, yeah, it's a really important word that you refer to. It is how we refer to our customers. I think customers is very transactional, where we do truly believe that it is a partnership. Our partners are entrusting their businesses, their livelihoods with us, and to make sure that we can really grow together and help
Yeah.
support them to be a success. The business historically always made for large multinational brands. But over time, we have transitioned the business away from those large multinational brands, um, to a much more fragmented business model that you're referring to, servicing often family-owned businesses just like ours in the pet sector.
Yes, which we will get into because I think it's really fascinating how the business has undulated and changed really who the partner is over the years. But what would be really good is if you could just tell us a little bit about, so the business began as a farm started by your father. It's today still a family owned and managed business. And the then farm manager, John Blackett. Could you tell us a little bit the breakthrough that began GA as an innovative pet food manufacturer?
Yeah, certainly. So we've been farming in the area since the early 90s. My grandfather was farming in the area, and we tried many different diversifications over time. We had pick your own strawberries. We converted an old barn into a wedding venue. We dug out sand on the farm and we sold the sand, and we're left with a fishing lake. Always looking to diversify away from farming. Farming, as you know, you're selling a commodity. Commoditized products are, is a very difficult market to be in, and particularly when you are susceptible to outside pressures that are beyond your control.
Yeah.
So the weather, the economy.
Yes.
So it wasn't really until, well, it was it just started as another diversification at the time in 1992. John Blackett, who was a farm manager at the time, was walking through a shop, turned around the bag of pet food and saw that there was a lot of wheat in the composition. And then thought, hey, we could make that. We actually started by putting the wheat into a piece of milling equipment, and this created a sort of a muesli mix. And we could sell this a ton of wheat for a £15 premium against the market price. And then it
Right.
was really from there where we thought, hang on, yeah, this is, we're adding value here.
Yes.
And then we ended up having a small farm auction. We managed to make enough money from that to generate money to buy our first extruder. So an
Yes.
extruder is what you use to manufacture dry pet food.
Perfect. And that kind of, I suppose, pursuit of adding value is something that's continued to today in the business. And I know from working with you personally that that's something that you're always looking to do, is to make something better and better and better, but also premium, so that you're continually adding value both to pets, to the consumers who own the pets, but also to the partners that you're selling to give them the margin so that they can be competitive and build their own moat, as you like to say.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, how have you built competitiveness? Sorry, how do you kind of stay close to customers' needs and continue building those moats?
I think historically, going back to the very start, the business has shaped over time, and it's all about the evolution and small incremental change. I think probably we didn't know it at the time. Porter has two focuses. You can have two choices. You can either be low cost or you can be differentiated.
Yes.
And fortunately, probably just through the right decision at the time, we found ourselves on the differentiated side of the fork.
Yeah.
It started out really with our customers at the start. We entered into a very competitive world. You know, in 1992, the industry was still competitive as it is today, but it was competitive then. In order
Right.
to win business in a competitive market, you've got to say yes to everything. So we said yes to the difficult to make products. We said yes to the small production runs. Everybody wanted the easy products that
Okay.
were made in big batches. So really from there, as a consequence, we got a reputation for making the difficult products. And as the market premiumization continued in the market, we sat in a good position. Then we took on board some customers who actually helped drive our quality because they
Mm.
brought on their own quality control teams and colleagues, which then introduced processes which we learned from. And I think the business learned a lot from our customers. We listened to our customers. And then I think we then took a bit more of a lead over time, as opposed to maybe our customers taking a lead. We then have taken more of a lead on that.
Oh, right.
We still very much value today surveying all of our customers, asking for their feedback, but it's been a journey to get there day by day.
Yeah, sure. And can I pick up on differentiation that you mentioned there with Porter's Five Forces? Because I know this is something that a lot of companies are really seeking to do today. Is it's not enough anymore to just be very good or even exceptional at what you do. You've got to differentiate in some way. So thinking about that and thinking about GA, if I'm a potential partner choosing between GA and another manufacturer, what's the kind of capability or what makes you fundamentally different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the main principal uh, unique element of what we offer is in terms of Freshtrusion. So Freshtrusion is the process and the technology that we've developed from making our products different to other products that are out there. So historically, and still very much today, if you were to go into the supermarket and turn around a bag of pet food, a lot of that pet food is made, well, with maize, but
Right.
the protein source is made from dehydrated meat meal. But what we developed prior to 2012, but with anger since 2012, is the Freshtrusion process. So this is where we are able to source, bring in our own refrigerated wagons, um, high quality fresh meat from the human food chain onto site, and within, coming onto site, we're cooking those fresh meats, Scottish salmon, Angus beef, English duck, free range chicken, within hours of it coming to site. And we're cooking these meats in our own ingredient kitchen that we've
Yeah.
developed ourselves, and then we're then taking that meat and putting it into the extruder. So really what we're doing is no longer just really about extrusion. There's a heck of a lot that goes on beforehand, and all of our suppliers we audit, and we're checking all of the meats that come to site. So I would say, in terms of our main differentiation and unique selling point, I would
Yeah.
say it is our Freshtrusion process, and we've now adapted that further to our Freshtrusion HDP process. So that's the the next generation. So
Yeah.
we've got further plans to develop that.
Yeah, and I've seen firsthand actually how the market's changing. So the pet food sector's really followed, it's called humanization, isn't it? But it's really followed what's happening for humans. So this awareness of the importance of proteins and nutrients and wanting to care for our own bodies and live better, that's transferred into what we want for our pets. So it's really interesting you mentioned there about the Freshtrusion process, because I know you put such a lot of science behind what you do and how you make it, but equally, you also have this stance that your recipes can only ever be as good as the raw ingredients that you put into it. So you really take a lot of care over that. Do you see that as being something that will increasingly matter to pets? Is that something that's going to grow over time, that innovation and bringing into that innovation of pet food the raw ingredients and the importance of that?
No, absolutely. I think, as you said, we've seen humanization of pets, and that has been around for a long time now. Trend continues to grow, but with humanization, we get this premiumization as a consequence.
Right.
So there is greater, as we see, if we reflect on our own lives, and I go around the office here, I've got somebody who's putting something into their teeth to help with their hair, somebody who washed their hair this morning with some
Mm.
shampoo that's got collagen in it, somebody who's got some face cream, somebody who's drinking an energy drink.
Yeah.
We're all conscious about our nutrition, our health, and trying to improve, or and perceive to improve what our health and the functionality of our bodies, and
Yes.
extending our lives, and well-being alongside that. So as a consequence of that, when we're treating a dog, valued family pet, um, another extension of the family, we
Mm.
transpose our own mentality about our own health awareness and consciousness and trends onto that of our pets. And so we are seeking to meet those needs by ensuring that we can provide our partners with the right products that meet those nutritional needs to a very, very high standard, but also the marketing elements as well. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, it's the dual function of those, the marriage of those. One can't exist without the other in order for you to have success in supporting our partners to be successful.
Yes, yes. And we'll get into conversation about how you're really focused on education. So, educating both the end consumer as to what they're buying and what impact that has for their pets, and really truly the quality in there, but also educating your partners on how to sell it and and what differentiates it and why it matters and how to advise their own customers. Before we go into the marketing side of it and the education side of it, I'd just really like to touch on the values of the organisation, because I feel with GA, you really live those values. You've got the values of integrity, innovation, and quality. What role do you think the values play within the organisation?
I think when we started out as a manufacturer, we didn't quite realize how important culture was.
Yes.
I think my father always refers to the North Star, as you know. Uh, it is about having that guiding light, not only for yourself in terms of leadership, but actually more importantly, everybody else in the organization, because we're then all working in that same line, in that same direction. And it creates a frictionless business. If you're all off going and doing these things, then it's very costly. And I think that cost, nobody sees what that cost truly is. And that's why businesses probably don't focus on it, because it's incalculable.
Yes.
So I'm only talking about a feeling that I get. But
Yes.
having that guiding light, it keeps the business really focused and the direction is clear. It influences every decision that you take, from shall I go with this supplier or that supplier, or shall I recruit this person or shall I recruit that person, or do I want to trade with this partner or do I not? Every single decision that we take is based on those values. And when you have that clarity, it makes decision making very, very easy.
Yeah.
We have actually just introduced a book, Anne, called the GA Way.
Oh,
Um,
finally.
and so the GA Way is just a little book. I have to say we based it on Sir John Timpson's little book, which, sorry, I'm just going off the screen now. I went onto his website. He had a fantastic book.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
We went off creating these complex diagrams. And it's all about, we thought all very scientific,
Right.
but actually keep it really simple. Little pictures
Lovely.
showing how do you act, what is the mindset, and this just is there to remind colleagues when they have those decisions, how do they act, what should they do.
Yes. I love that you've done that and that you invest continually in just helping colleagues understand the GA way, and understand what expectations we have of one another and how you work together. And I just feel that GA's got a really good instinct for the importance of culture and people. And it's lovely to hear how your values really are your guardrails for making decisions. And I know that genuinely happens. I've witnessed that. So it's refreshing, and it's something that I think a lot of businesses miss. So it's gorgeous that you've created that little book for everybody. So that leads me really well into the people side of it. Remind us, how many employees do you have? How many colleagues?
So we have 600 colleagues in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah. So, and I know you kind of spread across two sites in the UK, one where you manufacture, one where it's head office that has a lot of the sales and logistics, etc. But you also have a lot of colleagues who are in the field across Europe as well. You've unusually made that decision to have your own people employed by GA, trained by GA, who operate within the field across Europe and UK to go out to partners and to spend time with those partners and to educate them and to support them in any way that you can, which is very different. So most in the sector just see that as a mega cost and they haven't done it. Can you tell us why you chose to do that route and continue to see that as important?
I think when we're talking about differentiation, you have to demonstrate what that differentiation is, and you can demonstrate it. A great example is on the bag. You can have a nice brand name, but really that's only sort of skin deep. There's so much more to that. If you were to go, for example, and walk into your supermarket, how would you know what pet food to buy? You would just look at
Mm.
the front of the bag. No one ever looks at the back of the bag. Actually, what makes our product different is when you look at the back of the bag and you look at it, what
Yeah.
in the composition. How is this product different? To do that, we found having colleagues, we call them our disciples. They're going out there spreading, our message to all of our partners in their place of business throughout Europe has been the best way to do that. To demonstrate this difference it's through education,
Yeah,
and education comes in many different forms. And one of those we found is having a colleague knocking on the door, building up trust and a relationship,
yeah,
um, training the partners, colleagues, and sales colleagues um, has been the the best thing for us. Contrary to that, we've seen, this is a model that have taken from others in the industry, but whilst we've
right.
persevered with it, many of our competitors have withdrawn that because, again, they see the cost. It is
Yeah,
very expensive, but it has been absolutely central to us gaining a foothold in these markets across Europe and maintaining them.
yeah, absolutely. And just looking at that kind of not taking the easy path, a lot of businesses at some point have those moments where the easy path is to follow the market. I just wondered if you could share a moment when GA has had to make a difficult call and changed direction. Because I know that has happened in the past where you've completely pivoted in terms of the kind of partner that you've gone for, but you've done that for lots of reasons. I think it'd be really interesting just to share that point in the business.
Yes. I think this has been gradual over time, but I'd probably say the main one was in about the year 2000. We spent £6 million on building a new extruder line. It was a very difficult time because we built this really for this one customer. This one customer represented
Right.
43% of our business, and then this customer ended up being acquired by another significant multinational brand, and they wanted to bring their production in-house. They believed that they had their own production capabilities to meet the needs of this new brand that they'd acquired. And so overnight, we lost 43% of our business. And it was a very, very difficult time for us. Whilst we probably still acquired other large brands, it was that moment when we realized that we had to work with independently family owned businesses like ours, that ultimately businesses that shared our same values. And those
Yes.
values, that is where quality, innovation, and integrity, but above all else, it does come first. And the partners of ours that valued quality, those were who we needed to align ourselves with. And from there, when we've been faced with other tough decisions and we've realized that those partners weren't truly aligned with us, we've had to say goodbye with a heavy heart, but
Yeah.
we know that every time that happens, it has made the business stronger, and made us
Right.
more focused because you sort of free yourself from these shackles and this cloak that you're previously wearing, and you can leave that behind to focus on really where you need to be, and it makes you much more competitive, focused consequence.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that you've also retained a lot of the larger partners who have stayed because they are aligned in some way, whether that is with your values and culture or whether it is that they simply value the quality of what you produce. So, I think that's a really important point that focus is so difficult sometimes. Your own customers can take you off course and you think you're on the right path. And I speak to many companies who do this, who they end up manufacturing very bespoke things for many, many customers because they want to keep those customers and grow with them. But at some point they realize that they've lost their way and actually it's taken them off course.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. Maybe as we enter into Easter, it's like the 40 days and 40 nights, and life is about, often you get all of these things that, you need to do this, temptation.
Yeah.
I've just been driving in this morning, and the head of field sales is telling me that a colleague says we'll sell so much in Italy if we have this particular product. That product category is not our focus. We're focusing going on to the premium end.
Yeah.
Again, your customers, you need to do this, you should do that. And whilst it is really important to hear, um, you can't do everything. And that's where the strategy, the values, it keeps you on course. They are your guardrails
Yeah.
that stop you from being distracted. They're
Yes.
so
Yeah, it goes
important.
back to your North Star, doesn't it? Being
Yeah,
really clear on who you are and who you're for, who you're not for, and where you're going. I think that's something that I see very strongly within the business. Just thinking about all of this, I think the pet industry in particular has seen this surge of private equity investment, and that's drawn by the sustained growth that the pet industry sees. We love our pets and we particularly want to care for them. So it's quite a premium market. But many of these businesses are now being shaped by these investor expectations. But GA's just taken a different path, remaining proudly independent. To what extent do you see independence as a genuine competitive advantage, not just culturally, but commercially as well? Now's the time to nail your market positioning and be the expert of choice. Work with us to propel your business today. The industry has seen this surge of private equity investment, which is understandable because the pet sector has continued to grow and has proven to be very resilient because people love our pets and we are willing to invest in them. So there's many businesses now being shaped by investor expectations, but GA has taken a different path and you've remained proudly independent. So to what extent do you see that independence as a genuine competitive advantage, not just culturally, but commercially?
yeah, no, it's a really good question, and I think for me, we've had the benefit of understanding the private equity expectations and motivations and strategy and ethos because we've seen um, a plethora of our partners. Lots of our partners have been sold out to private equity over the years. And what we've seen, and with is the case for pretty much all of our partners, is that most of our partners are established not because of business reasons. They are founded on the principles of trying to deliver the best for pets
Yes.
and ensuring the best quality nutrition. So that is the foundation, that is the basis, not necessarily trying to focus on making money, even,
No.
which for many people might be a surprise, but it is based upon their whole raison d'etre of focusing on delivering the best. And there's no surprise that those that grow to be the biggest probably have that strongest. That's their north star, and that's their strongest focus. So those
Yes.
businesses that have been bought are the founder-led business is based upon the founder's principles. And then what happens is the acquirer, they don't quite have that same passion, drive, dedication as the founder does. And so often the acquirer is backed by finance, and those
Yeah.
people on finance want a return, and they want a return pretty damn quickly. So the quality no longer becomes the primary focus, the most important thing. And that's really where we have seen the disalignment with our partners over time, is where
Right.
quality no longer is number one, because quality for us is always number one. Yes, price is important, but actually price comes second to quality. Whereas I think that relationship inverses and you then get price actually becoming more important to quality.
Mm.
So the business is no longer founder led. The business's values are no longer founder led. The business's values and focus is economically led. And so that changes the whole dynamic. And whilst that doesn't change immediately, and it doesn't change overnight in terms of the outcomes, the repercussions, it comes out in the wash and it comes out eventually. And the people who they're selling to, both their customers, but also their B2B customers, soon find out that the the values of the business have changed. I'm strongly against that basis of doing business, but I also understand it's a different way. As we have a differentiation way as opposed to a low cost way, it's just a
Yes.
different way. So I don't want to be too negative towards those, but having a short-term view is, in my opinion, a handicap. We have the benefit of being 100% family-owned, and we can take decisions that are long-term decisions. We don't have to give a return to our shareholders within a certain short time frame. We can do things that are about long-term sustainability, differentiation, uniqueness, that may not deliver instant value, but over the long term gives that. And I think that is the same for our partners as well, who are 100% family owned.
Yes.
They can take those same decisions. So
So
I don't
what are
know
the
if that answers
commercial benefits though of being independent? I'm kind of wondering, so it's a real dichotomy, isn't it? Because obviously when somebody reaches a point in the business and they want to exit or they want to really go for growth and they need that investment, I can see the attraction there. But for GA remaining independent and choosing to go down this route of investing for the long term, how does that benefit your partners? What comes from that for them?
I think so. As you know, and we've been working for a long time, we have a long term horizon. We've got a 15-year new product development plan.
Yes.
Um, so it's every element of our resources, any profit that we happen to make, it's not siphoned off to anywhere in London or outside of the country. Everything goes right back into the future.
It
Our
does.
NPD plan is 15 years. It's not a 3-year or 5-year horizon, it's a 15-year horizon. And all the investment that we take, whether that's in our colleagues, our training, our personnel, um, the technical equipment, the automation, the new wind turbine that we're looking to build, everything that we're doing is about supporting that new product development plan and delivering a better service for our partners into the future.
I mean, a 15-year MPD plan is such a luxury these days. Businesses tend to be very short-termism for lots of reasons, but I think the benefit of being able to always put the partner and colleagues front and center and know that if something's worth doing, it's worth doing right and taking the time to do it in that way, that ultimately it gives you that freedom, doesn't it, to be able to do right by the partners, right by the colleagues, and build a more sustainable business, which I know is at the heart of GA's strategy. So I want to bring us back to something you said earlier about education. And this leads me into the sales and marketing path that you're on really. So you've grown by helping your partners grow. So whereas a lot of certainly manufacturing companies will be very focused on making a very good product and selling that and getting it to market, which is obviously fundamental, GA's kind of taken a slightly different approach to it, and you've joined the dots that you can shift as much product as you want, but if the partner can't succeed with it, then it's not going to be a long-term business. So just talk to us really about that education path that you've taken, the kinds of things that you do to help partners grow.
I like to think at GA we take a different approach to many of our competitors or others in other industries. We no longer attend trade shows. We no longer advertise in the industry magazine. We want to do something different. I find them actually, maybe I'm being pretty negative here, but very uninspiring. And I think if you are to look at the return on investment on these things, it is not value for money. We have to deliver value for money for our partners. We want to meet our partners directly in their shop or where it's most convenient for them. So we like to do it ourselves. I spoke about we have field colleagues visiting in their
Yeah.
shops, in their country, with their own language. We have a QR code on the back of every bag. with
Yes.
which takes our partners to a landing page which explains about Freshtrusion, which is a sort of Intel Inside approach to ingredient branding. Um, we have our own periodical or newsletter, which we send out 3 or 4 every year, which tells our partners about what's coming up, what's happened, celebrating success. We have other marketing materials and support. Just recently launched a brand new product range, and we created our own encyclopedia. So this has been created in a way that's really approachable, and that is where our marketing budget is spent. We were attending the trade shows, and it was 100,000
Yes.
euros each year to attend the biggest and best trade shows. But instead, we now have a 2-day event where we invite our partners from all over Europe. So last June, we had 200 partners from 13 different countries coming to visit us. So rather than
Amazing.
spending 5 minutes on our stand in Germany,
Yeah.
come and visit at the factory, come and walk around, come and meet the people who actually make the product. Not don't necessarily come to meet me, meet them, ask them the questions, and seminars and dinners, and we spend the same amount, but we feel that we get so much more value. I think with those things, there's a lot of FOMO, the fear of missing out, and people feel that they have to. But if they were totally honest with themselves, they would see that the return on investment is very, very poor. And actually, the people who read it aren't necessarily customers, they're suppliers, other people, and who they're not wanting to target, we can go directly to our partners. So,
Yeah.
yeah, education's important and meeting them where I've got their attention.
I think the other thing that I'd reflect on as well is that a lot of businesses invest, excuse me, quite a lot in digital marketing these days. Everything's kind of remote, but GAs, you're showing a lot of print today. You're doing more of the traditional job of marketing, but also the in person is about relationships, isn't it? And it's about openness and come and see exactly what we do. There's no secrets behind your recipes because you're so proud of, quite rightly, everything that goes into them and the colleagues that make them. It's quite unusual. But you do have a digital product because you have what you call the GA Academy, which is this kind of online community which is only exclusively for partners of GA. So talk to me about that balance between the online, the physical world of marketing that you do.
As you said, the print is really important, and it's probably maybe seen as a historical way of doing things, but it does really work. But with that, like I say, trying to make things convenient and meet our partners where is most convenient to them. I think it is layered, and just one alternative approach that we take, as opposed to advertising on Instagram, LinkedIn, other social media platforms. As you rightly say, we have invested in our own social media platform. So this is a platform exclusively for our partners.
Yeah.
So far, we've got about 900, nearly 1,000 partners on this platform from all around Europe, and it gives them an opportunity. It's rather like our own Facebook, really. If you imagined it was a space for all of these like-minded partners to talk to each other. So there's a section on there where they get to talk to each other, ask questions, post pictures, and we hope that it's not exclusively about GA. It is about what's happening in the industry. But alongside that, there is a part of the platform that has training, courses. Also, from the month of February, prior to a launch of a new range, we had a selection of live events um, building up to the launch of this new product. We had about 600 different partners and colleagues coming in to view all these videos. It's got still lots to do. That's again an alternative approach that we sort of take rather
Yeah.
than the traditional platforms.
I admire the decision that you've taken to pull away from some of the more obvious ways of reaching prospects, through trade shows, through publications, there's a lot of wastage. I know a lot of companies are struggling with that, and kind of invest that in your own channels and your own ways of connecting with partners and educating. So I think that's excellent. So just a couple of final questions. Brand is often associated with consumer businesses. So what role do you think branding has for B2B businesses?
Branding's, as I've learned, incredibly important for B2B. I think it probably is often maybe not forgotten about, but not seen as important as in maybe B2C or D2C. I think where we have benefited immensely is from our brand that is passed on through word of mouth. And that all stems back to our long standing focus on quality. And we're currently working to try and cement that by actually having a little bit more of a marketing mindset. So considering the brand, how it looks, how it feels. I think we've been good at actually doing it, but we're not very good at saying what we do and shouting on the rooftops, look, we're doing all these fantastic things. And that's kind of where we're at on our journey, is trying to be a bit more be boastful is the wrong word, or less modest,
Confident.
but yeah, about who we are, but absolutely, really, really important for B2B.
So, if you could give one piece of advice to another founder or leader trying to build a kind of resilient, differentiated business today, what would it be?
For us, I say recently, maybe the last 5 years, we've started on a process called continuous improvement. This has impacted our culture immensely, and ultimately, it does come down to culture and creating the right culture. We've been on a journey. We've learned that we've got things wrong. We've got many things wrong, but it's also about putting it right when you see it's wrong. So creating the right environment for colleagues, for partners to thrive. It is through incremental change. I think Einstein
Yeah.
said that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, and it is absolutely true. As you look at it, it's very hard at the start, but there is this sort of kick where it grows kind of exponentially. And I think culture led through continuous improvement, having the right people on board and supporting those and creating that environment for them to work. I think it's about being like a football team or a religion. People want to be part of something, and you've got to create that environment where people want to be part of something. And that's what we're trying to create. It's still a long way from doing so, but if you can create that, life will just become easier and the business will become much more enjoyable. It's a
Yeah.
nicer place for people to work in, but likewise for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's in your interest, not only from a financial point of view, but also from a day-to-day point of view. So relationships, culture, really important.
Yeah. Love that. And just finally, then, what excites you most about the future? And in particular, we've got this 15-year NPD plan. Where do you see GA in 15 years?
I mean, I get really excited going back to the previous one about seeing my team grow and seeing them
Yes.
develop and take on more responsibility or do something really good.
Yeah.
I love that, and I'm really excited for that. But in terms of NPD and where the business is headed, but also going back to the brand as well and who we are, I think continuing that focus on differentiation and delivering the most unique and high quality products to support our partners, to help them, because they have to be unique as well. We recognize we need to be unique and our partners need to be unique to
Yes.
survive, because that Pareto principle is the same for them. And they will never, ever be able to compete with the supermarkets, the multi retail chains that are out there in the market. So they have to be different. There's no other choice. They have to be different. So we are on a long term plan to deliver that. And I hope, you know, not all these products might be suitable for them, but I hope that they seek to align their NPD strategy with ours. And we'll only achieve that through that marketing, the multi led. I think you've got to tell somebody 7 times before they buy something. I've seen it now 13 times.
Going up.
We've got um, we've got to keep communicating that plan and hope that the partners also align theirs with that plan. Yeah, really, really exciting and so much to look forward to. And I think in the industry at the moment, I think, and many industries, it's tough times. We've been through tough times recently, and it's hard out there. But in spite of that, the principles remain the same: humanization, premiumization, and we've got to continue on that journey because the product of today, in 15 years' time is old hat.
Yeah.
So we have to continue to change, to improve, to evolve, adapt, and that NPD plan gives us that focus, that drive, that North Star.
I really enjoyed discussing where GA started, those kind of humble beginnings, starting in farming and then ending up being what is a hugely technical, quite scientific business, but actually is all about people and relationships and really driven by innovation, that continuous improvement. So it's been a fascinating discussion. I think there's lots in it for everybody listening to take from it, and hopefully it will give them the confidence to try things and to push against the grain and do things differently to what the industry or the competitors are doing. So thank you so much, James.
Thank you very much, Anne. And I would encourage any of your listeners to listen to your other podcasts. And you've helped us immensely over the years, getting us to where we are today and that clarity. And so I encourage everybody to listen to and read your work because it's been incredibly useful for us. So thank
Thank
you.
you.